Where on earth does Michigan State stack up in the Big Ten ahead of this 2024 football season? And then, yes, hey, old friend, Michigan State basketball. We're going to talk about you a little bit with our new friend, Sean Merriman. Let's go.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of Locked On Spartans is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On Spartans, your team in green and white 3 days a week in June and July, and then all the other months 5 days a week. If it's going on in East Lansing, we're going to talk about it on this show. And today, it's not just me babbling on and on, just in an empty closet into a microphone. No. We have new friend of the program. His name's Sean Merriman. He is a senior editor over at Fox Sports, and he is hailing in from Big Ten country. That's right, Los Angeles, California. So, Sean, how on earth are we doing over there, man?
I'm good, Matt. Thank you for having me on. As I was telling you earlier, I'm an avid listener of the show. I love everything you do. Support everything you do.
Thanks, man.
I think we probably you were a state news guy, weren't you?
I sure was a state news guy. Yep, you got it. Yep.
I think we just missed each other over there. I did both the state news and the LSJ, but follow your work, man, and I'm really happy to be here.
There we go. Well, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, you're probably half the listenership then. I know it's a low number, so really do appreciate you. You are the best. You're also the best, too, because you pretty much came up with the ideas of today's show. I said, hey, you know what? Anything you're passionate about, let's riff on this. And you said, let's tier the Big Ten teams. And I got to say, we've been talking about tiers all offseason, but I've never made like an official tier list yet of where Michigan State truly stands before this season. So, Sean, I'm going to try to do something we don't really do often on this show. I'm going to try to bring a graphic up. Holy smoke, so far it's working if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on the podcast, this is what's going on. 7 tiers for the 18 Big Ten teams ahead of this season. I'm going to go through them all. I could have made this easy, be like, hey, really good teams, really bad teams. But no. We don't do basic on here, as we know, Sean. So here is where we are at. Top tier. NFL AAA teams is what I call them. That's Ohio State. That's Oregon. The second tier right behind them that I named a tier that will upset both U of M and Michigan State fans. Well, Michigan State fans, because, we don't like talking nice about Michigan, right, Sean? Like this kind of boils my blood over here to do this. Are you upset over there on your end?
Listen, I'm coming into you from the Fox Sports newsroom, so I have to be biased, man. I'm a company man, but as a Michigan Stater, you know damn well how I feel about Michigan.
That makes me sick to my stomach. And also Michigan fans, too, probably upset about this. They're behind Ohio State. They're behind Oregon. They just won the national title. They should be on the top tier, but my God, were they gutted last year. So I think second tier alone in the Big Ten is fair. The third tier is what I called the James Franklin zone, or the how are you guys not better teams. I'm talking about Penn State, a team that is always in 10-2 purgatory, and then USC, who took what many are saying a generational quarterback in Caleb Williams and turned them into a 7-5 team last year. I don't know about that. Right behind them, the fourth tier, what I called as decent as we will get. I think with their head coaches right now, they're going to be a 7-ish win team. Okay, I say that for Iowa. I say that for Maryland. I say that for Washington. Now, I like Jedd Fisch as a coach, but his track record, he never stays anywhere long enough for his coffee to get cold. I don't even know how long he's going to stay at Washington, so who knows how good they can get in the future. Now, after that, the better get us now category. Teams that are just right now, but I like the trajectory of where they're going to head. We're talking Michigan State. We're talking Wisconsin. I think Luke Fickell can do some damage over there in Madison. And then I do love Coach Matt Rule over in Nebraska. So to round out the last 2 tiers, the second to the lowest is 6-6 with every game played at noon on Big Ten Network. These are going to be 4 of the most forgettable seasons you will tune into, or maybe not tune into. Illinois, Rutgers, Minnesota, Northwestern, and then the very bottom tier, waiting for hoop season. Guys, Spartan fans, Sean, maybe even you two over there, we saw ourselves in this tier for about 2.5 months last year. So sorry to Purdue, sorry to Indiana, sorry for UCLA. I don't foresee this being your year in football. Basketball should be okay for you guys, though. Sean, I am so sorry. This is your first time on the show, but I just took up all the air for the first 4 minutes. Right off the top, let's keep this MSU-centric for now. Is that a fair ranking for Michigan State behind the Iowa, the Maryland, the Washingtons, and all the other teams, but ahead of Illinois, Rutgers, Minnesota, Northwestern? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think there's reason to be optimistic about this team, certainly more so than Vegas gives us with the 4.5 wins over under there. I think in this league, there's clearly a top tier, as you mentioned, Matt, with Oregon and Ohio State. Like I see those two just above everyone else. I think it'd probably be fair to say that if those two teams didn't qualify for the CFP this year, with it going to 12 teams, that would be a lost season.
Yes.
For me personally, I went and I kind of think that Michigan and Penn State and USC can all be kind of grouped into a tier. So I think you're fairly spot on there.
Okay.
Michigan, there's a lot of questions, and I don't mean to avoid Michigan State. I'm just kind of going through down the list here.
Sure.
I think with Michigan, so much depends on what they're going to do at the quarterback position. There was a ton of turnover there. I think they returned 2 starters total on offense. Their skill positions were just absolutely gutted. Obviously a new head coach in Sharon Moore. So we'll see there. And then I think there's a lot of teams after that can be grouped really all together. For me personally, I went through it. I put Iowa and Wisconsin kind of in that next group. I think Iowa will be better this year, especially if Cade McNamara can stay healthy. I think Tim Meister, while I don't think it's going to be night and day, I think he's going to do some. You can't get any worse than that offense was. Put it that way.
Right. That's pretty much bang on. Yeah.
So they'll include that. They'll improve. Wisconsin, I think you hit it with Luke Fickell. He's going to improve in year 2. They have an interesting, quarterback situation with bringing in Van Dyke, the kid from Miami, who's had a real up and down career, kind of Jekyll and Hyde there. So if he can stay healthy, he can do good. And then you get into Michigan State's tier. So I would, I'm looking at your list here. I think Wisconsin is maybe a tier above Michigan State. I think that I would tier them with the Marylands, with the Washingtons. Nebraska is one of those teams that love the coach, love the prospect of Dylan Raiola. Yes. But can the average college football player name me another player on that roster other than Dylan Raiola who has yet to take a college football snap? I don't know. Maybe.
That's tough.
So we'll see there. And kind of the surprise team that I have here also in that tier is Rutgers. I think that Rutgers is probably a little bit better than we're giving them credit for. I think I saw they return 16 or 17 starters. So 8 or 9 on both sides. They have a fairly manageable schedule, as manageable as it can be in this front-loaded Big Ten conference. So and then after that, I think you're spot on with the waiting for hoop season, the Purdue's, the Indianas, the UCLA's, probably Illinois and Northwestern. You could all group those kind of together. With Michigan State, for me, it's how far it can Aiden Childs take them. First of all, can he stay healthy? We all know that, I've heard your show say it. I've heard guys like Graham Couch and Solari talk about it. Like Tommy Schuster's the exact perfect backup quarterback that you want. But the truth is you're only going to reach a ceiling in a first year if Aiden Childs stays healthy. That's how you're going to get to 7 or, God forbid, maybe 8 wins. I think that's really the key there. How will the defense hold up? There's so many new guys. It's going to be I remember in that COVID season, watching the names and you never knew who was going to be on the field or who was going to be on the depth chart. And you're like, who are high? That's how I think we're going to start this year. Being oh yeah, that guy, I remember they picked him up, but you're going to get familiar with these guys. They made some improvements. I think the secondary is going to be much improved from last year. Again, kind of like Iowa's offense. It can't get any worse.
I was just going to say that. Just like Iowa's offense.
The
only way this elevator goes is straight up the shaft, hopefully. So
that's right. But no, I think the secondary will be improved. They brought in some playmakers there.
Yes,
the defensive line, losing Simeon Barrow and Derek Harmon will be tough, but they've built more depth on that defensive line through the spring portal that I think will help them ultimately fill some of those gaps. So Yeah, I think Michigan State's probably in that fourth tier there. I think you hit it pretty spot on.
And, it won't be there forever. Kind of like how I, tiered. I said, better get us now before we get good. Again, like I've been screaming it from the mountaintops. This is probably my 870th time saying it this offseason. I love the Jonathan Smith hire. I think good things are going to happen here in East Lansing in the next few years. I think that we go over the 4.5 win total, but man, 4.5 win total. Someone out there in the desert knows something, and we've talked about it at times here. Like, could be the offensive line depth. Could be that other teams are. They've also improved too this offseason, but nevertheless, we'll have to wait and see. I want to hear your tiers here in a hot second, Sean. But first, I'm so sorry I got to send you to the bench because I need to talk to people's ears off about Gametime. That is right, the greatest ticketing app out there. Why are they the greatest? Well, for a few reasons. It's easy. It's 2 taps on your phone, and the tickets are sent straight to your phone. You don't have to rummage through your email with no service outside the stadium wondering where are your tickets. They're just at your phone. You get real pictures of the seats before you buy them. It is incredible. But guys, my favorite reason, how much money you can save right now. For all you Metro Detroit Tiger fans out there, Saturday game against the White Sox. It'll be a true race to 2 runs that game, but hey, beach towel giveaway game. Going to be a nice sunny day in Detroit. $39 for 10 rows behind the Tigers dugout. I just saw on Gametime. Those kind of deals are all over the place, whether it's their flash deals, whether it's the last minute deals leading up to the first pitch or kickoff or the first song of the concert. Gametime has got you covered. Folks, when you download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Gametime today. It's last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. As we welcome the one, the only Sean Merriman of Fox Sports back into the mix here. I took up so much oxygen in the room for the first little bit, barking out my tears. Sean, your turn. Let's stack up the Big Ten, baby. All 56 teams in the Big Ten. Let's hear it. Let's go.
It certainly feels that way when you're going through it. And, for us journalism folks, let me tell you, writing a preview on 18 teams compared to 14 teams is quite the difference. It's
no kidding. Yeah.
It takes up that ink for sure. I think when going through it, Matt, mine are pretty comparable to yours, to be honest. I mentioned, I got into a bit of it already. I talked about Ohio State and Oregon. I think they're clearly in a tier of their own up there. Wouldn't be surprised to see both of them in the AP top 4 or 5 teams when that poll initially comes out here.
Have to.
I'd go as far as say, like, from a pure roster talent standpoint, I think Ohio State probably has the most talented roster in the country. What Ryan Day did in the offseason, in what is clearly a have to win now season, on paper, it's tough to argue with what he did. This team is going to be damn good.
I've got a crazy side tangent to go on right now. This has nothing to do with Michigan State.
So you're just going to take more oxygen up. Okay. All right.
I am. I'm hijacking back the show right now. Because I've been sitting on this take, and I can't tell if I'm just losing all my marbles or just most of them. Did the Michigan national title hurt that rivalry and favor Ohio State? Because how much money do you think Ohio State fundraised that night when Michigan lifted the trophy? Because the Buckeyes have spent more than the Cleveland Browns in free agency this offseason. Is that national title actually bad news for the future for Michigan and Ohio State? That's a crazy thing to say out loud. So go ahead. You don't even have to answer that if you don't want.
No, it is. But you know what also is shocking? I don't know. I mean, I know you follow recruiting. If you look at where Michigan ranks right now in recruiting after winning national
it's shocking.
Title, right?
Shocking. Yes. Yes.
You would think that a national title would just alone on merit get them a top 8 class percent.
Just on brand alone, too. They have so many things working for them. And I think 24/7 Sports has them at 51st in the country. Now, it's not going to stay like that forever, but still, I get there's roster turnover, but you are Michigan. You're the reigning national champ. You should be waking up every day in the top 10 of recruiting rankings. I digress. That's
totally
crazy.
Well, and again, to your point, though, a national title should only help that. And I just think that Ryan Day is in a position where, he knows this is a defining year. There's no more. I heard a take, and I don't know how if I can even buy into this in the smallest iota, but I heard a take that if Ryan Day and Ohio State lose to Michigan, but go on to play in the national championship, win or lose, he could still lose his job. That's
that game. I love that. I love that. That's awesome. I don't believe that, but it makes me think. It makes me think.
Right?
That's a good
Right?
one
So,
though.
like, that's how much that game means to Ohio State. That's why you saw him do what he did this offseason.
Man.
I also saw something yesterday that they brought in Caleb Downs, the kid from Alabama, that he might get some running back snaps. And it's like, they already might have the two best running backs in the country. So I don't know where that's coming from, but
wow.
God,
Okay. Sure. Why not? Yeah, just mess around. Have some fun during the season on your way to 12-0 regular season. Okay. Sure.
Right.
Whatever.
Okay.
Whatever.
Anyway, back to the tiers.
Sorry, that's on me. That's on me.
This is for Locked On Buckeyes later on.
Yes.
Yeah, I see the next tier kind of being Michigan, Penn State, and probably USC. I put those teams all together. I think that, Penn State is one of those teams that is consistently a 9-10 win team, but can't get over the hump against Michigan and Penn State. They have, I said Ohio State as the best tandem of running backs. I think I think Penn State might have an argument there too with Singletary and Allen. They got some incredible running backs.
Yeah.
Drew Aller looked really good last year at times. I heard he struggled mightily in their spring showcase, but who knows? That's a spring game. We'll see. After that, I got Iowa and Wisconsin kind of in a tier on their own.
Okay.
I think what you said, talk about like 8-4, those type of teams. I think Iowa and Wisconsin are right there. And then I struggle with Nebraska again. Like, Nebraska to me is almost kind of like an enigma. Like, love the coach, totally understand the hype behind the quarterback coming in and Dylan Raiola. Like, here's the stat I want to give you. Okay. And I wrote this down in my lone notebook. Nebraska last year on their offense, they did not have a single 1,000-yard passer, a single 500-yard rusher, or a single player that caught more than 35 passes. So
how's that possible? How is that possible? That's crazy.
The defense was solid. It was better, but where's the offense going to come from? Like,
wow.
Yeah, I thought that was shocking to read that stat. So they're a bit of like, they're an enigma. I said, like, they're flirting in between. They could be in that Iowa, Wisconsin tier, but they could also be in this next tier, which includes Michigan State, which includes Maryland, includes Washington. And the two dark horse teams that I kind of put in there that I elevated from yours are Rutgers and Minnesota. And I did that just because, again, each of them return, I think, 16 starters. They're both bringing in new quarterback. Minnesota's bringing in a kid in Max Brosmer from the FBS level who just absolutely torched that level. And I think they'll probably go as far as he will take them on offense. We know that they're always going to be a solid, like to run the ball type team that's going to get down in the trenches. And then after that, I think it's Illinois, Northwestern, UCLA, and then Indiana and Purdue at the bottom. As you said, like, let's get to basketball season with those two.
I think from like the Iowa, Wisconsin, Nebraska, then, the tier Michigan State's at, the Maryland, Rutgers, Minnesota, Washington. I think that group is so big this year too, because there's no more Big Ten East or Big Ten West. And of course we're adding the 4 new teams. I feel like in the middle of the pack, there's just like this reshuffle of the deck that we don't entirely know what's going to happen here. I mean, not just in the next few years, but even this year. So I think that's why there's such like a big, bulk in the middle of that sandwich between like the top tier teams, the names that we all know, the ones that have been spending like NFL free agents this year. Yeah. And then the ones that are just begging and pleading for basketball or wrestling season, whatever,
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And it's interesting because Michigan State will play at Maryland in week 2, I believe it is. So you're gonna get an idea of where kind of they stack up against a team that I consider in a similar tier right now. Right off the bat. And then, I was listening to your show earlier this week with Chris Vanini, and you guys were discussing how unique their schedule is, about how it's, oh, great, love this. They should win 3 or 4 and then, oh, shoot. Iowa, Ohio State, Oregon, Michigan. And then we get some more of those teams that are kind of in that middle to lower tier that totally fill up the back end of their schedule that you look at and you should say, okay, they should beat in Indiana. They should beat in Illinois. They should beat a Purdue. But, who knows? I mean, there's been so much roster turnover. And listen, that's the way it happened. That's the way it had to happen. That's the day and age of college football we live in. Inevitably, when you bring in a new staff and start a new regime, that's going to be the case. It's just expedited because we're in this transfer portal era where kids can move so freely now. So, yeah.
Bang on. Speaking of transfer portal, or we could also talk about recruits too, let's switch it up to the basketball court here because it's been roughly, it feels like 15 months since we've even mentioned basketball. I needed a little cool down period after the season. Got a little frustrated. But hey, let's talk about it right now, Sean, because we're going to talk top 3 instant impact newcomers for this year. You could take that with your transfers. You could take that with your incoming freshmen. Or, you know what? Or assistant coach, I guess, even though he's not going to play, Mr. Washington over there. But nevertheless, Sean, I will let you bet first here. You're on a roll right now. If you just want to go 3-1 or 1-3, dealer's choice, who are your top newcomers for this upcoming year?
All right, let's go. I like 3-1. I like that. Let's do that.
Suspense. I like that. Let's go. Yeah.
All right, we'll start with 3, and this is the one that I admittingly struggled the most with. I think that 1 is pretty clear, but 2 and 3 are tough. And I think it's probably going to come from 2 of those freshmen that are coming in that group. I look at a guy like Jesse McCulloch, and I think that there is such a wide range of what he might be this year. I could absolutely see him redshirting. I don't think that that's totally out of the question, although Izzo has, we saw with Garrick Norman last year, but he hasn't done that as much as he did kind of early on, I felt like. But we could see that. But you look at the 4 position, and if they want to play Jackson Kohler almost exclusively at the 5, like, there is an opportunity to be had there behind Xavier Booker at the 4 position. Yeah. And in this day in college basketball, I think we're seeing how valuable it is to have kind of like that pick and pop 4 that can stretch the floor, a guy that can knock down outside shots. And that's what Jesse McCulloch is known for. Now, with that said, we all know how Tom Izzo operates. So it will come down to, can he defend and can he rebound? And if those 2 things are, at least like average to above average, I think there's no way you can redshirt this kid. I think he just has to play. There aren't a lot of 6'9", 6'10" pick and pop guys that are on that route. Like Xavier Booker's it. So I think that McCulloch, I'm on a spot at 3, and I'm going to do it with the caveat based on just pure opportunity there. Everything I've also heard from recruiting services is like, this guy elevated his play from like early on in his high school career to where he is now. He just kept going up and up and up. So, there's going to be an adjustment period. There always is for freshmen. It's all going to come down to, can he rebound and can he defend? And if he can, I think he's going to break that rotation.
And like, obviously FanDuel doesn't have these odds, but I feel like he is the odds-on guy, like minus 200 odds to be this year's Moneyball overreaction MVP. I will do it. Spartan fans will do it. Like, tell me, like, this kid doesn't go off for 33 one night, cashes in like 8 3-pointers, looks physically ready for college. Like, yeah. You thought we overreacted when Tum Tum was hitting threes in his Moneyball sessions? We haven't seen nothing yet. Because, look, there's a need for a big man. And there's also been, like, whispers that he's physically has gotten bigger, stronger, too, where, like, maybe he won't just play the 4. Maybe he will play a little bit of 5-2. That's a wait-and-see thing. I will not believe that until I see it. But nevertheless, just like you said, with the opportunity there behind Xavier Booker, I don't imagine he'll be a 25-minute-a-night guy as a freshman, but hey, a few minutes here and there. Colin Carr, let's say his jump shot isn't ready yet. Let's say you need some scoring at that 4 position while Xavier Booker gets a water on the sideline. Yeah, that could be a somewhat important player for your team this year. So I do like that at number 3. I actually had him at my number 2 spot just because of how much mystery is in the air and just what Moneyball will do for this kid's stock that I will certainly have a hand in raising. So, I can't wait for that. It's gonna be dangerous.
I totally could see that as well. It's you mentioned Tum Tum. It's like, I think it was Kohler last year before the broken foot, right? like he was the guy that went for like 50 points in a game, and everyone
50 was like, every night. It was crazy. Diamondale's never been the same, or no, it's at Holt High School now, or wherever Moneyball's at. But wherever it is, it hasn't been the same since Kohler walked through those gyms. Man,
you're right. Yeah. Okay, number 2, I'm going to go to a guard position, and I'm going to go Jace Richardson.
Love it.
I'm going to go Jace Richardson because of his versatility and his ability to play both positions. I was looking over this, and I don't know if you ever do this, like when you're like in the shower, taking the train to work, whatever it is, I'm going through the depth chart in my head, and I'm like, where does Jace Richardson fit into this depth chart?
Almost every day. Yep, that's right. Yep.
Like I think we know that Akins is going to move to the 2. They want Fears to be the 1. I think that people will still underestimate Trey Holloman. Like, to me, I think that he's a guy that just, if he can take the jump from year 1 to 2, take a similar jump from 2 to 3, like that guy is going to be a good Big Ten player. It's going to be hard to keep him off the court. So he's versatile too, right? He showed us last year that he could play the 2 when Hogarth was playing the 1. So, but I think Richardson is gonna, he's 6'3", maybe 6'4" on a good day. He can play both guard positions. He's obviously a good athlete. He's not, I haven't seen him play personally, but just from watching tape, I don't think he's as athletically gifted as his dad, but who was coming into college.
Right.
That would be just a ridiculous statement to say someone as athletic as Jason Richardson. So yeah, he's my pick there. He was a borderline 4-star, almost 5-star kid. Played at Bishop Gorman High School, which is one of those, for those that don't know, like that's one of those programs that consistently will play like a national schedule, that playing against the best of the best. And of course he plays AAU year round. So he has a feel for the competition he's going to play. I don't think he's going to have like the bright deer in the headlights when he comes in. I think he's going to be a kid that'll be ready to play. How much? I don't know. We'll see. Again, probably defense will depend a lot on that. But his ability to handle the ball, to play the 1, to run the team, and then also slide over to the 2 and be a playmaker, I think will go a long way.
And that's who I had at 3, so I just swapped the first 2 right there, Jesse McCulloch, Jace Richardson, which feels weird leaving Kurt Tang off my top 3 because I think he will have an impact this year. But who's your number 1? Are we breaking out the fiddles right now? Or
we are breaking out the fiddles, exactly. And it's interesting because I feel like I've been repetitive in this, but it's Frankie Fiddler, and it's so much based on like, it's just based on need. Like, I know that everyone was just clamoring for a big guy this offseason. Big guy. Same boat. I also thought they should go a big guy, but thought it was like, are we not clamoring for a wing as well? Like, we don't have a player between the height of Cohen Carr at 6'5" and like Jesse McCulloch at 6'9". Like that guy, like Malik Hall's gone. He's not coming back. Like,
right.
You needed a wing who was able to. I mean, that's the thing about Jaden Akins. Like, I love Jaden Akins as a player, but could you imagine being a high school point guard and then having to guard 6'7", 6'8" wings every day? Like, he was playing out of position. It was by necessity. I understand it. But the ability to bring in a 6'7" guy in Fiddler who's going to be able to stretch the floor, to body up against those bigger wings, and allow Akins to move to the 2, I think is just going to be a big help for this offense as a whole. It's going to help with spacing. It's going to help with ball movement. On the flip side, I will say this. I would encourage people to not think that Frankie Fiddler is going to come in here and average 20 points for Michigan State like he did at Omaha. Like, we're talking about the Summit League. We're talking about a team that I think I looked it up the other day. They played 2 Power 5 teams in their non-conference, TCU and Texas Tech, and lost by like a combined 60 points. So this isn't a kid that's just been balling out against top-notch competition his whole career. Like, there is going to be an adjustment. Look at what happened when they brought in, a Brandon Wood from Valpo, or Tyson Walker's first year, they brought him over from Northeastern. Like, I don't expect this kid to just come in and lead the team in scoring right away. But what I do expect is that he fills a void that this team desperately needed, that they probably lacked at times last year, that will help with spacing and certainly help on the defensive side of the ball.
No, well said. Yeah, will it be 20-6 just like Omaha? Doubtful, but I think like double-digit scoring could be expected from him. And you know what? If not for nothing else, this is the stat that I always bark out when we were talking Frankie Fiddler this offseason. This kid gets to the free throw line. And Michigan State, I'll say it again. Everyone pull your drinks out and finish your drink if you're sick of hearing this stat. I will continue to say it, though. MSU hasn't had a guy average more than 5 free throw attempts per game since Cassius Winston in 2019. Getting to the line is an art form. Is it the only way to score points? Absolutely not. But my God, just it helps when you can do it. And that is part of Frankie Fiddler's game amongst many other things. So, Sean, I do love the 3, 2, and 1. I also love the other 2 players that we left off, Simon Sapala and Kurt Tang, like we talked about. But I also love this chat. Sean, go ahead, plug anything and everything you want. Where can the people find you? Just bark everything out.
Yeah, no. First, I want to thank you again, Matt. This is
awesome. No, thank you.
I could talk MSU hoops with you every day. It was enjoyable. I think you picked the topics. Yeah. So definitely check out our work. We have a really nice package of college basketball content over at foxsports.com and the Fox Sports app. Me personally, I'm on Twitter. I see the nice graphic here at Merriman Tweets. Don't tweet as much as I used to in my Big Ten Network days, but I'm certainly on it all the time. So, looking forward to following any and all Michigan State folks.
Just lurking in the shadows of Twitter. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. No one ever truly goes away. Yeah. No one really leaves forever. Come on. No, I appreciate you, Sean, and appreciate everyone else for watching, for listening. Folks, we will be back. Got 2 guests lined up. Don't want to say their names because I've gotten in trouble before where I say their names. The interview hasn't happened yet, and then everything blows up. But hey, that's right. Could be 1, if not 2 interviews to start your week next week right here at Locked On Spartans. Until then, keep it tuned. Love you all. Go Green.